Jaynie Morris here with another episode of Soul Sentred, the podcast where everything that we do is all about good health, well-being, longevity, fitness and biohacking. Yes, we finally got into the area of biohacking, which we're very curious about and we know you're very curious about because you've been sending us feedback and comments and emails about the type of things that you want Soul Sentred, the podcast and Soul Sentred magazine feature, and the guests that you want us to bring to you so that you can learn more because your curiosity really is spiking. So thank you for all of that feedback. That is fabulous. Now today, our episode features not one, but two guests. They're people that you, if you've been following us and listening to the podcast or perhaps watching us on YouTube and reading our magazine, Soul Sentred magazine, then you're familiar with these two amazing people. But if this is your very first time that you've been tuning into Soul Sentred, the podcast, well, you're in for a big treat. Juliet and Paul Eliseo are the co-founders of Evolve and Relaunch, which is an incredible organization that we have talked about individually with them and talked about various things that can enhance our life through the work that they do previously. But I've invited them back today as the duo, the powerful duo that they are, to talk about something that a lot of people think they know about, but don't actually understand or realize how to bring it into their lives to make them better. And that is values. Do you know what your values are? I thought I used to know what my values were until I did some really big deep dive work with these two amazing people. And then I went, I had no idea. So welcome, Juliet and Paul, to Soul Sentred, the podcast.
Thank you for having us back. We're super excited to be here.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. The three of us and our minds colliding. I'm looking forward to what magic unfolds.
Well, let's put it this way. My mind's not going to collide because I'm just going to let you two run the show because you are polished in that area. But before we do, for that one person that's tuning in right now that hasn't listened to us before, because I know everybody is listening to us now. Can I just ask you both to briefly talk about your backgrounds and also Evolve and Relaunch?
Perfect. Well, I'm one half of Evolve and Relaunch, and we run a personal development training company where everything we teach is designed to help people understand themselves better and their programming. So everything that is going on underneath the surface, your beliefs, your habits, of course, your values, which we're going to dive into today. We teach certifications, so we certify coaches, but also we attract a lot of students that really just want to improve, whether they're a business owner and they want to bring their best self into their team dynamics and their culture and stop kind of creating chaos. One of the sayings we have is you can either create your dreams or your drama, and sometimes people are unconsciously creating a lot of drama because they don't realize what's running the show underneath the surface of everything. So that is one part of it. I also have a side passion, which is helping people write books, and I have a book writing retreat happening next week, actually. And so I think our business is really an incredible vehicle to help not only the people that come in across us learn more about themselves, but for us as well to have a bigger impact on this planet and help shift the consciousness globally of the people who are interested in learning more about these things. And I think as well, just for myself personally, I'm really fortunate now we're in our 11th year of being in partnership and relationship together as well. And I think our relationship has been such a container for growth for both of us as well in understanding and appreciating each other's values. And a very quick high level background before I came across Paul and started my business, which was Relaunch My Life before we evolved it into our combination of Evolve and Relaunch. I was working in corporate and very disconnected from my body, totally unaware of my values and really living life on autopilot on all of the programmed things that I thought I should do to be a good woman in this society. And it was really through a lot of deep inner work, a big kind of spiritual awakening that I went through in my late 20s, that I ended my marriage and quit my corporate job in the space of 12 months. And now 12 years later, looking back on that life, I just feel really grateful for having the courage to follow what was true for me at the deep soul level. You know, it's soul centered. Everything that wasn't right for me, all of the symptoms I was having in my 20s, anxiety, low self-esteem, all of those things, they were just trying to nudge me back onto my soul path now, I can realize. So I love helping people really connect to what's true for you and stop living a life that's designed for someone else. So that's a little bit of my background as quickly as I could, because I know we've got a lot of content to cover, but it all started because of you, really, Paul.
Well, I'm the luckiest man on the planet, obviously. I get to spend every day with my partner, working together, doing life together, and it's a blessing. And obviously doing this together as well, we get to present a lot together, so it's really nice to be here together doing this. My journey comes from a completely different background. Mine was because I really needed to learn this stuff, both body and mind. I went through a lot of tumultuous situations growing up that created a lot of stress in my body, and that created a lot of symptomology, a lot of what looked like dis-ease, stomach issues, mental, emotional issues. And then through basically the pain, going inside, learning to connect to myself and learning what I needed to shift internally, and then my outside world started to change. So I went on a journey of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-expression. And basically all the tools and techniques that I've had to apply for myself throughout the years and work with others to help them do is what we teach today. So we get to run a lot of amazing trainings that help people to find out about themselves, to connect to themselves, and then become who they want to be without the brakes on, without their past holding them back. And it's amazing to watch people on that journey, to see them shift the things that are holding them back from their past, to step into their power and then start to consciously create their future. We have another saying is you can evolve by choice or chance. And a lot of people are just dodgem cars getting bumped around by life, and that kind of throws them in whatever direction they're going in. But we really like to create a space where people get to almost become aware of the dream that they're creating and sort of stop the nightmare and start choosing, well, what do I want to create? What do I want my life to be like? And most of that revolves around their values. So really understanding the underlying mechanism that filters their world and where they spend their time and energy and focus, and then helping them get in touch with that and making any adjustments they need to. So yeah, we both came from a different path, but all of the stepping stones brought us here, which is amazing. And we get to share our life together, but also share our life experiences and what's worked for us and what we still apply to this day. And it's amazing to be able to do it as a team.
How easy was it for the two of you back then, 11 or 12 years ago, to having your life where it was individually and the businesses or your / careers that you had individually, and then identify after you realize that the two of you were soulmates and amazing together. But how easy was it for you, or did it come easy, that creating the business Evolve and Relaunch and bringing the two together was, or not?
I think it was very organic.
Was it?
Evolved. I mean, the first few years after I'd quit my corporate job, I still had a little bit of fierce independence. Like, I want to prove that I can run a business on my own. So I would run retreats overseas in Bali, and I was teaching spiritual development courses. And it was really about 4 years into having my own business that I studied my NLP trainers training as well, and I was running it under my business name, and Paul was running his NLP trainings and hypnotherapy as well. And it's actually quite unromantic. An accountant looked at both our books and said, well, you guys are basically running the same businesses individually. Why don't you just establish, we were both at the point where we were changing from sole trader to company structures. And he said, why don't you just create one company structure together? And so we sort of talked about it, and we thought, well, that makes logical sense. And so we took Paul's business, Evolve Mind and Body Coaching, and my business, Relaunch My Life. And it was actually the very month that we taught our first master practitioner training together that we merged our logos together. And we had this banner with our logo. His was the man holding the world above the head, and you can explain your logo. And mine had a mandala. And so we placed my mandala above the head of the logo, and we unveiled it at our first master practitioner we were teaching together. And it just felt like the most natural thing in the world. There was no resistance.
Yeah, in saying that though, that's the business side of things. For us to get to be together, we had to shift a lot of external world and internal world.
I was thinking that, yeah,
okay? Yeah. I think we both knew immediately that it was what it was, and it is what it is, and we both wanted it to happen. But we both had things that we had to adjust and move, and our life situations, going from two complete independent people to shifting that so we could be together, was huge. And I had to grow a lot as a person and had to do a lot of internal work. And then I think that made everything easier. Once we were already together, then doing the business together, that was huge, because to be in the relationship we are now and communicate the way that we do and be as open and sharing, and like some people say, how do you guys work together? I'd kill my partner if we were running the same business together, right? But we do basically everything together. So I feel like there's such a flow between us, and that becomes because when there isn't a flow, we talk about it, work on it, and work out what is it in us that's getting in the way. And so I've never experienced this in a relationship before, and it's really nice to be a part of, and it's something that forces self-growth, but also it makes everything in life better if we're on the same page and working as a team.
Yeah, well, I guess the two of you actually have that advantage of, like, your business is all about personal development and growth. And so your testing ground is your relationship.
Yes.
You know, right? So, and that not only enhances your actual relationship, but it also elevates and enhances your business.
Yeah, it's like, how well do you know this stuff? Can you do it? Like,
yeah. Well, actually, yeah, we tested it yesterday when we were down at doing a gym session or something like that. Thank you for that. Now we've talked a little bit about values, and that's what we're in here to really deep dive on. What are values?
So values are basically what makes you you. Everyone has a unique set of values, and there is individual as your own fingerprint. Like, no one can have the exact same wiring and life experience and way they see themselves in the world that you do. And so when you unpack and explore your values, you're really going to see the blueprint for who you are and how you see the world, what inspires you, what you focus on, why you do what you do and why you don't do what you don't do, how you feel about what you do and how you feel about it before, during, and after it, whether it was a good thing, whether it was a bad thing. Your values are how you reevaluate the world. You reevaluate the world through your values. So you're going to look at a person as good or bad based on your values, an action as good or bad. So it really is one of the keystone things that make you you. And when you understand it, it really helps you to understand everything about yourself.
And the values that we all have, as individual as they are one of our deepest unconscious filters. And what that means is you will see the world through the lens of your values. So we are 3 people sitting here, and the person listening to this podcast right now, you're listening to this podcast and you will hear things that are important to you based on what your values are. So maybe family is your highest value. You're going to be listening to this podcast thinking about someone in your family that might benefit from this, for example, or a situation in your family. Maybe your business is your highest value. You're going to be filtering for and listening to how values can support you in your business, right? And so where you spend your time, energy, money, and where you spend most of the time thinking, that will indicate what's high on your values. And I think what's really important and what we distinguish between in our trainings is a lot of people think they know their values. And I know you touched on this as well. And many people get taught, and I've read a lot of personal development books where there will be a list of about 50 particular words on a page, and the person will be guided to choose their values from a list. And for us, really what we do in the way that we train our coaches and what we like to empower people is to understand and draw out what your values really are based on what's real for you, based on how you're living your life. Because let's say someone wants to get healthier, they want to lose weight, they want to take care of their health, but health isn't even on their top 5 list of their hierarchy of values in terms of how they're being programmed. It will be so hard for you to take action on that and be motivated to take care of your health, because you've got these 5 other priorities that are going to take up 95% of your attention, time, energy, focus, and unconscious intrinsic motivation. And so this is why we're so passionate about it as well, is by knowing this, you can actually start to shift and change your values and start to communicate more with your unconscious mind of, well, actually, based on my goals, this actually is a higher priority for me. The reason it can be so challenging, though, is because our beliefs are stemmed from our values. So someone might have a whole set and a whole cluster of beliefs about health. They might have a whole cluster of beliefs around health that are, I'm never going to be able to lose weight. It's hard to be healthy. everyone else is healthy, not me. They've got all of these beliefs that are weighing down that value basically and pushing it down the hierarchy, because your unconscious mind is always programmed to serve you and keep you safe. So if there's something that when you think of it, you have some negative associations to, likely it's going to be pushed further down the chain on your values. And I think that's what's so exciting and empowering when people learn about values in this way, is they starting to develop the belief of, oh, I can change this. It is possible to shift this. It's not just the way I am, which is what starts to happen over time. If someone has tried to make a change in their life or achieve something in their life and they haven't been able to, they can start to develop an attitude about that value that then stops them from even wanting to try to change it.
Yeah, I think a big thing to add to that is your highest values, what you think is the most important to you in life, are usually going to be really linked into your identity. You're going to identify yourself with what's most important. If someone asks you, who are you? You're going to say, I'm a mother, father, I am a business owner. And that will usually be directly linked to what's most important to you. You'll identify with and have a persona or personality around it. Because our highest values are how we fulfill ourselves the most. It comes usually, and they're shaped from our early childhood experiences. And they usually come from things that we either create a void around, where it's either a negative experience that we felt a sense of lack and we want to feel that, which gives us fulfillment. Fulfillment is fully filling the mind. Mind means mint. So you'll want to feel that, and you'll feel that sense of, I feel like I'm a whole person when I'm feeling that. Or the opposite, where you had something so good that you are drawn to want more of it. So some people might really love family and that a high value for them because they had such a great family experience, or in childhood they didn't, and so they're seeking that. So they're either seeking or avoiding certain things in their life. And the same thing for relationships, same thing for health. Whatever early childhood experiences that gave you that sense of a void, whether you want to fill it or you want more of it or you didn't have it enough, you tend to build a whole identity around it. And then you spend your whole life trying to fulfill it. And so that could be useful or it could be unuseful. And this is one thing for a lot of people, they don't realize how pivotal those experiences were and how that's shaping them. And then, like Juliet talked about, the values hierarchy, what's the most important, what's the second, the third, even understanding how your mind is constructed in that way to go through the priority list, it'll make sense why you've written goals every year and you've achieved one of them every year and then the other 5 just never happen. It makes sense why you're always making progress in one area of life. Then you look out and you see other people doing better than you in other areas and you're comparing yourself to someone who has an amazing body or has an amazing business, or you're like, why can't I get that? But when you understand your values, you understand that it just isn't important to you. And so we tend to look out the world and see everyone smashing their highest values and comparing ourselves to their high values and either injecting what they think is important into our world or projecting our values onto other people and judging people as bad or wrong because they're doing something that isn't in alignment with what we think we should be doing.
Yeah.
And so this is a whole nother layer to values, which I think is eye-opening for a lot of people.
Do you find that when people or when students in your amazing courses as well, when you start to go through and they write down, you get them to do that exercise of writing down their values and the hierarchy of values, do you find, 2-part question, do you find some people go, can't put that, I can't put my business because, my wife might read this and, so question number 1. Mm-hmm. Question number 2, when they're first doing that exercise, do you find a lot of people go, whoa, that's really? Well, and then start to ask questions of both of you in those moments like, well, I've got to change that. Like, that's not 2-part question.
Well, I think, first of all, knowledge is power. And one of the pre-frames we always give to answer that first question is to answer completely non-judgmentally. And we actually pair people up in the course to have someone else ask them so that they can sort of sit back and just see what comes out. And one of the pre-frames is, tell me, first thing, whatever comes to mind, no judgment, let's just see what's there. And I think by the time people get to that point in our training, it's a pretty much open book because they realize, okay, I'm here to be real and I'm not going to be able to change if I'm not being honest with what's coming up right now. Very often there are those moments of surprise and, oh my gosh, well, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's what we hear more than I wish, I hope no one hears about this. It's more, wow, that makes so much sense why I feel conflicted going into work every day and missing family dinner. It's because business is actually the highest value for me and family comes second. We can actually shift those things, absolutely. That's a possibility, of course. But I think, having that knowledge and understanding yourself, that's the key to then being able to make those changes. And it's very common for people to say, my gosh, especially I would say, and I'm going to generalize a little bit here, a lot of the women that come in our courses, money or finance is not on their highest values and they wonder why they're not achieving results financially in their business.
Interesting.
And so a lot of the time that will be down the list, sometimes not even. And even, I won't obviously share details, but in our most recent Masters of NLP training, we had a student who her value around money wasn't even money. It was not being stressed financially. Now, how someone's going to filter the world on not being stressed financially is going to create a lot of financial stress. So even clearing up, when we did a lot of work around clearing up her beliefs and associations and negative emotions around money, what she witnessed growing up. And so then after a couple of hours of doing some clearing of her values, she actually said, oh, my value now is wealth. It had taken on a healthier expression internally with the change work that she'd done. And I think that's what's most empowering when people have those realizations of, oh, it actually feels different now. And it's not through exploring it that you can discover it.
I think like Juliet mentioned, for most people, it is oh my God, this makes sense. I finally get why that happens before that and I can never get this. I'm always at work and I never get to the gym because if I had a choice, well, I've got my gym bag in my car, but this work call just came up, you're always going to pick what's more important to you. So your time and energy, your focus is always going to get funneled to your highest value. We have the most brain energy and our telencephalus, the end of our brain, and some of our executive centers in our brain are wired to find our highest values. You're actually going to be more of a genius in your highest value. You're going to be able to problem solve, remember more, you have more attention, more awareness, and you'll be able to just seek challenges and take them on. You'll have more energy, more focus, more motivation, and more inspiration. And you talked about biohacking as well. Like you actually feel more younger, more vital. And actually, there's science showing that your DNA, the telencephalon in your brain switches on, but also you've got telomeres, which is the end of some of your DNA. They actually activate when you're living in alignment with your values.
Is that right?
Your vitality improves when you're in alignment with what gives you purpose and meaning. Your highest value is how you also seek and feel most fulfilled. And it's the end in mind, which is your highest chief aim and purpose, right? And so for a lot of people, when they look at the paper, they'll realize, oh my God, that makes sense that I've spent my time and energy focusing on that because it is deeply important. And this is when you start realizing that no one has the same values as you. Your partner's not going to have the same values as you. So they're going to want something else that you don't. And then you go, okay, that makes sense. They spend their time and energy on this, and I spend my time and energy on this. Of course, that's different. Your family are going to want different things. And so this is a big thing. And once you unpack it, like Juliet mentioned, that specific person, the way it's wired up will give you the way it's wired up. So if you're looking for not being in financial stress or whatever the wording was, that sounds okay. But when you think about it, your mind doesn't process a negative. If you say, I don't want to eat a Tim Tam, what do you imagine? You imagine eating a Tim Tam. So if you say, I don't want financial stress, your brain filters for what's financially stressful and it goes and finds more of it. And so by doing some of the work that we get people to do in some of our trainings, they actually do cleanup work and remove the negative associations, and then things reconsolidate in their mind to a more healthy expression. And going from not looking for financial stress to looking for ways to have wealth, it's a totally different filter. It's like going, okay, what stresses me out here, or what can I find that will help me to be more wealthy? You're not going to see the same world. So when you actually change your values, your world changes because you're filtering for different things. I think one of the best metaphors, and this is something we experience when we go to the shop, if you go shopping with someone, you're going to get to know their values. If you go to a big like mall type thing or walk down Rundle Mall, which is just down the road from us, Juliet will see different shops that I won't even know exist. Right? And if you ask me right now, I could probably tell you where there's about 5 different shops. The bookstore, I can tell you where the the shoes and sports apparel shops are, and maybe a couple of nice food places.
Yeah.
And if you said, where's the handbag shop, Paul? I'd be like, I got no idea. But if you want to know where that is, Juliet will know exactly where that is.
And stationary.
Yeah. And so everyone's values will filter how they see the world. The same mall isn't the same mall for different people. Like I'll already have a map in my mind of what's important, and those shops are like hardwired in there for me. But I delete the store and I just don't even see the other things. And so the world is different because of your values. And that's when we understand someone else's values, you understand that they're seeing and experiencing a different world than you, and what they need to feel fulfilled isn't the same as you. So as a couple, as a partnership in business and in life, by understanding that, that helps me to help her be fulfilled, and also then helps her understand what I need to be fulfilled. And also we do some things like linking values where we can actually find fulfillment in helping the other person to get their values met as well, which is very fun and very awesome as well.
That's a really good analogy as far as going shopping is concerned.
Yes.
You know, as soon as you said that, I actually just, I just had a light bulb moment on that, because I got it, which was really interesting.
It's cool. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways, but most people have gone shopping with someone else.
Yeah.
And they're like, I didn't even know this shop existed.
Yeah.
And even inside the same shop, like the one day you've got to do something on a recipe that you've never, and you're like, they sell this thing at the shop, and you find an aisle, you find a shelf, you find a product you've never seen before. The same thing happens when you're exploring someone else's world. You don't realize what they're looking for and what's important for them. And usually in a relationship dynamic, you're going to attract someone with usually opposite values to you to balance you out. If you think business is important, they're going to not think it's important. If you think health is important, they might not. And so sometimes you'll get people with similar values that cross over, but sometimes you get the polar opposite, which is helping to balance you and helping you to learn to love, you know, the opposite of that as well. And especially in family. In family, you'll get it definitely.
Well, I was just going to bring that in when you said before in regards to your values, your partner's values, and then of course family values. Is it easy to change once you look at your values? Is it easy to change that hierarchy, I guess, or is it or are there other factors that come into a mindset perspective that need to be changed first before you can do that?
It's 100%. Significant life events can change values in an instant. I mean, you've got children.
Yeah.
The moment your child was born, it probably became your top value. Most new mothers, it is. You're a grandmother as well, right? So those shifts, especially when there's been a major significant change occur, your values will naturally change as well. So this is why we always recommend our students do realistic and look at their values quarterly at the least, so that you see, well, what's happening, what's changing, and where are things at now. And definitely any change work, any belief changes are going to shift values as well. So often, even just in the process of going through even our practitioner level trainings, people's values will start to shift because they're removing a lot of as we said, a lot of people are moving away from things they don't want. And because a lot of the clearing that we help people do is helping them to be more balanced and then start to move towards the things they do want, the values will naturally start taking on a healthier expression as it is.
Yeah, I think for most people, life over their, like almost every decade, you're going to have different priorities. What's important to you as a teenager is going to be different than as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old. So you will slowly change values. But like Juliet mentioned, when there's a big life event, usually that's a more bigger shift in people's values. And you'll notice that some people will change overnight and they'll be so focused on something and they weren't before. That can be a good and bad thing. And that's the whole evolving by choice or chance. For most people, they will let life dictate their values. Whatever happened to them growing up, that's your blueprint. You just got fired. Now you've got a high value on trying to get a new career or something. And so life's just throwing it at them. But what we try to help our students do is go, okay, this is what your values are currently. We'll see what's there. Where do you want to get to, and what values do you need to help you do that? Because your values are like the wind and the sails that you've set in your mind. They're going to move you in that direction. If your values are pointed in the opposite direction to your goals, you're never going to get there. So you can link your goals to your values. That'll help you get there, or align your values with your goals to get things moving. And like Juliet mentioned, the away from or the negative experiences that you've had in your life that you want to move away from, if you do some therapeutic stuff, work with one of our coaches, do some of the trainings that we offer, you are going to reduce that negative association to those past things, which are going to take away some of the heat. And so you won't feel the drive to have to run away from that thing anymore. So that's a natural thing that will help change your values. But also getting really clear on what you want and having enough positive associations to the things you want to create, then it becomes a high value to you. Like if you think of all the things that, say, health or business or relationship are going to give you, and really create a lot of associations in your mind. Because once you've created those associations, when you're thinking, you're linking. It creates new neural nets in your brain. It creates a deeper map in your mind. And the more of them you have, the more the brain goes, oh, that must be important, because there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of energy, a lot of focus on that.
Yeah.
And so then you'll go out and seek it more. And so there's lots of different ways to do that. But I think for most people, they've just let life dictate what they're looking for. And that's okay, but that's a very unconscious way to live. And sometimes it just works out great. Like some people just end up where they need to be because of that. But I think for a lot of people, they've got a chance to stop and go, okay, it's my time to wake up now. What do I actually want to consciously create in my life? And just because this happened to me growing up, or this is what I'm doing now, where do I actually want to get to? What do I want my life to look like? And then starting to go in and make a choice, and then work with a coach or do some training to work out how to actually go in and almost rewire or adjust the GPS in your mind to where you want to get to. Because the map in your mind that you used to have may not fit the world you're operating in now. I know that you've been walking around a lot of cities, and what I've noticed is when I've traveled a lot, I go to a city, I'm like, oh, I've been here for 5 years. Oh, it's very different, right? And so a lot of people are still running the map they had as a kid or a teenager, and the world that they're looking for isn't there anymore. I don't know if you definitely drove with the
and I'm going to bring in an example of that, because I think that'll be interesting.
And so most people haven't updated their maps, and they're still looking for and trying to fulfill what their blueprint was back whenever it was created. But I think it's important for people to go, okay, let me update my map and actually set the coordinates to where you want to go, so that you can find what you're looking for in life, versus just run the same loops, running the same path that you've done all life, because that's all you know.
Yeah, and on that, I bet a lot of our audience have just thought of what I'm about to say, because it's happened to me, and it's happening to some family members at the moment as well, where as children, they have lived in certain places, you know, in a city or, you know, country town or wherever, or another country. And then they've gone away and they've been growing up and all that sort of thing. And now they want to come back. So their choice is that they're going to go back to where they were living as a child. And I've heard many stories of this happening. It happened to me as well, a couple of times actually. Made a few house moves that I shouldn't have moved. But anyway, and then they go there and they go, yep, okay, yeah, there's new buildings and everything, and they have these memories. And so, but they have a family now, and they move in there, and within 6 months they go, oh, this is not.
We need to use my symbol. Triggered. Right? Because there is so much memories, association, good and bad. And almost like we get anchored, or we have all these triggers to environment. Okay. And so they're so used to being a certain person in that place. When they go back to that place, they've gone and been someone else somewhere else. And then they go back and they're trying to fit this new person into that place. And it's like two worlds colliding. Bang. And so, there's a lot of external triggers. Even though it looks a little bit different, it might feel the same in some ways. And that small town mentality of what people used to think and judge you for there, you got to bring your new version of you back into that. It can be an interesting sort of bubble.
One thing I think that's worth mentioning on what you've just spoken about is how powerful it is to be able to make decisions when you really know your values, because you know yourself and you know what you're actually looking for. Because if you chunk up and you think about, okay, moving to a home that you used to live in when you were a child, you can start asking questions of yourself like, well, what's the intention of that? Well, I want to give my children I want to give them the same family experience I had growing up, right? And then you can start to explore and expand out and look at, well, based on my values and our family's values as a whole, what other options and choices are available for us to create and forge that. And so I think we often have people who either work with our coaches or look at studying with us because they have real difficulty making decisions and sometimes go around in circles. And often what's happening is there's what's called a towards values conflict, where maybe there's someone that wants connection and intimacy, let's say, in a relationship, but one of their highest values is also freedom. They're going to have this really incongruent patterns and these really interesting behaviors where they're almost saying one thing but doing another, and that can be a real indicator of what's happening unconsciously in terms of a values conflict as well.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing yourself and knowing what your values are, it makes decision making so much easier. As a personal reference, we just recently sold a block of land that we had bought a couple of years ago when we both had like love and connection as a very high value, and we bought this block of land with a very romantic notion of what we wanted to build there. And then the reality of what it was going to actually take. Now, both of our highest values is about financial freedom. And we looked at that same block on paper, and it was very easy to make the decision to sell it. And it was a very straightforward decision-making process. And so I think that for us as partners as well in a romantic relationship, it's very easy for us to have a narrative around how we move forward and make decisions. Like, we make decisions quicker than I know anyone. We'll make a decision. I remember someone once said to me, great leaders make quick decisions, right? And we literally will sit down, we'll map it out, and we'll just, done. And then the headspace is clear for us to be able to move forward on. And I think that's because we know not only our individual values, but what's important to us in our relationship and our future.
But I think that also has to do with alignment, because like Juliet mentioned, the towards value conflict, what that really means is in your mind, you've got two things that you're moving towards or you want. You want intimacy in a relationship, but you also want freedom. And so it's like chasing two rabbits, you're going to get none.
Yeah.
You've probably met people or been a person who's like, oh yes, get close to me, but don't get too close to me. Or like, I don't abandon me, but I don't want you to know me too well. And so that's a dynamic that does happen in relationships a lot because people have this need and craving for closeness, but also to want to be safe and not get hurt. And so that's where your mind's kind of going in two different directions. And you'll see this in everything. You'll see this in health. I want to get healthy. I want to look nice, but I don't want to get the wrong kind of attention. I want to be successful. I want to make money and make a difference, but I don't want people to judge me. I don't want to, my family think I'm just all about money and I don't care about them anymore. Yeah. And so there's all these internal conflicts that people can have in their values that might look great on paper, but once you start unpacking the associations related to them, you'll see that they've just got their wiring totally crossed up. So it leaves them in what's called a double bind, which means if you do this, you'll get an outcome, but it's kind of bad and good. It's kind of cursed. And then you get this outcome, it's good and bad at the same time. So they don't know what to do. And that's where, when Juliet mentioned, when we've got clear and aligned values, you go, well, my highest value is this. I'm going to do what helps me get that. It makes life easy. It makes your energy flow faster. You can think clearer, your goals, your plans, your actions. There's less friction. You'll find that you'll be thinking a lot clearer and not so clouded and feel like you're just running in a circle. It'll just be green lights all the way.
How, for anyone listening right now who gets what we're talking about, and I know I can just tell Juliet and Paul that there's lots of mental light bulbs going off, because even me, and I have, and most people who follow us and the work that we've been doing know that I've done the courses with you and my master NLP and so on and so forth. So I know what the two of you are talking about is exactly what you're both experts in. So, but even I've got a million light bulbs have just gone off again. Maybe I have to come and refresh and
that's
do the course
that's
again.
the importance of doing it at a regular basis, because you get it and then life happens and then you get it. And it's just constant levels of light bulbs. Like when we always sit down and do our values, or when we have things in our life that we have to work through as well, there's just another layer of clarity and then another layer of application. Like you can only apply what you know at that level, and then you do it and you get like great results. And then once you get to the next level, you'll be able to apply it almost tenfold what you did last time.
Because your life has expanded and then you can get it at such a deeper level. And so this is something that a lot of our students have said, actually, it's really important to revisit the values. And so we are, in the new year, we're going to do a values realignment day for our students. But I've just decided in talking, Paul doesn't know this yet, we're also going to do a part of
I just work here. I just do what I'm told.
We'll also do a part of that day for general population. So it would be like the first hours for everyone, and then the second half we'll do for our students. students to go a bit deeper and do some
That's a
actual clearing and alignment at the start of the year.
That's a really good idea. Yeah,
So we'll
and
share those.
that timing is really good too, especially with
magic.
with values. I've absolutely loved having the two of you back here on Soul Sentred, the podcast. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us a bit of taste on values, giving us all a little bit more clarity on it, because as you've already said, and that's why we asked you to do this, we know values, having like our personal values, personal, business, and we haven't even touched on values in the workplace, but we will, because the two of you are coming back. And that's a decision I made while we were talking.
Perfect. Paul's just here for the ride.
Just come along. Just, get the
just
mug.
Smile and nod. It's okay. Yeah.
He's just coming for the mug. No, only joking. But it's the clarity on values that you have both dropped today is not only important, it's incredibly significant, especially in this crazy world that we're living in. I know I use that term quite a lot in my interviews, but that's how I look at it. This crazy world that we live in right now, quite often, and as you've just said as well, you've actually got to keep coming back and revisiting like your values, and you're aligning and so on and so forth. And I think that's a really important point too. It's once you've got your values and you see it and you've got that clarity, there's always work to be done. It's not like, I mentioned in another interview, we were talking about, if you want something changed, it's not like you can just ring Uber change and, it happens. You've still got to do the work, but it gets easier once you get the clarity. Would I be right in saying that?
100%. It's like your car's not going anywhere because it's broken down. Then you finally go see a mechanic. They go, well, the wheels are all bent. You need to do this. It starts working better. But then if you start banging it into stuff and you start not keeping up the maintenance, it's going to run down. But the more you keep up the maintenance, the more you keep topping up the right things, balancing the right things, and driving it the way that's in alignment, the less problems you're going to have, and the more efficient and the more effective it's going to be. Same thing with your body and mind. The more you look after it, the more you keep tuning it up every once in a while, doing maintenance work, not waiting till you have an accident in life to stop and go, oh, this isn't working anymore. Just a little bit consistently, it will start to pay off.
One thing I would add is there's a really big difference between conscious awareness of something that you want to change and actually changing at the unconscious level. And I think there's more awareness these days than ever before. There's amazing resources, podcasts, and I come across people who are really conscious of their patterns and blocks and things they want to change, but they don't know how. And so that's why, our courses, they're 7 days, 14 days, but it's all doing the work. It's not just sitting back and learning one thing a day. It's literally getting in there and going into the mechanic and getting the proper service on that. And so I think really, knowing how you're operating and moving towards with your values, I think it's one of the most empowering things. And I think as well, there is this belief in society of, values, I know that's just picking some names off a list. And we're always so passionate to just say, no, it is literally the most important thing to you. And it is how and why you do and don't do everything.
Everything. Yeah.
It's the key to unlocking your brilliance. Like, everyone is an expert and can handle more stress, more challenges in their highest value. Like, I look really good at what I'm good at, but if you compare me to someone else, like just the average mum, she'll make me look terrible when it comes to running a house, looking after kids, being able to prioritize shopping, budgets, all these, I'll look like an absolute amateur. So anyone in their high values, if you get to know them, you'll get to know exactly, like their brain is built different in that area. There'll be people that are experts in all sorts of random things. And if you tap into it, they'll be able to just flow nonstop. They're congruent and fluent in their highest values. There's no internal block. They just go in it. And so when you understand about yourself, you'll get the best out of yourself.
And that is a great segue to what we will talk about and bring into another episode, where is bringing values into the workplace.
Yes, cool.
Because in choice of team members and that's a whole nother kettle of fish, that one. Now, for our audience, if they would like to get in contact with both of you, Evolve and Relaunch, find out about your courses, because yes, the courses are, 7 days,
We do have some shorter ones as well.
Weekend workshop sometimes, you know, the longer ones, the 2 and the 3 weeks and so on and so forth.
We also tailor workshops to workplaces
and we do
groups.
corporate speaking.
Exactly. And, you know, some of our audience might be thinking, oh, yeah, but I don't want to be a coach. Well, you don't, even if you don't want to be a coach, if you want to do, which is actually more important, just do it for yourself, you can come and do the course, can't you?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And most people are coaching themselves very badly.
Anyway.
Yes, you know, you're trying to get performance out of yourself. You're coaching yourself, and that inner dialogue, the way you direct your attention and energy, is a form of coaching. And most of the time, people aren't doing it well.
And what's powerful about it is through learning the processes as a client and a coach, is your mind then starts to learn the patterns of how to let things go, which makes the maintenance much easier. But you also then prevent yourself from recreating more patterns in the future, which it is in terms of return on investment for the time. Some people come and see us and they think, well, I could have done 6 to 12 months of therapy or counselling or coaching one-on-one, or I could just come in and do a week deep dive and get a proper clear out. But also what happens is the compound effect of each day building skills, realising things, letting things go. It's that the mind that has been stretched cannot go back to the old dimensions, right? It is a shift that really just allows you to start looking out at your life from a perspective of potential and possibility. And I think we all sort of deserve that. Everyone's busy. It is this crazy world. And so to just press pause for a week and think, do you know what? I'm just going to look at what's actually running this entire show. I'm going to look at my unconscious mind and my beliefs and my blueprint. I think it is the most incredible gift.
Well, it's like people have been giving this vehicle and they're annoyed that it's not working the way that it needs to, but they don't realize that they've got the ability to set the map, even that they've got a map, that they can steer it and they can get the best out of it. It's like they've never went to body school. They went to learn to drive a car and they got ticking boxes. Most people haven't had the time to go see someone to help them run this mechanism better. I think as a human being, you owe it to yourself to understand how you work. And then when you understand how you work, you can get the best out of yourself. And I teach this for a living because I don't think there's anything more important to teach people and to do for myself. And I'm excited that other people are realizing that, but I don't think enough people realize that this is an untapped resource that literally is, it's the one thing that makes everything else better in your life. Like everything gets filtered through your mind and it gets experienced in your body. And if you're not getting that connection and you're not tapping into that and shifting it and working with it, everything's going to be harder in life.
So how can people get in touch with you?
That was your question.
Yes.
Thanks. We went on a tangent. Probably the easiest way, our website is evolveandrelaunch.com.au. We're on Instagram, socials as well.
And then we've got our personal ones and we both have both
just
of our names. On socials and in websites too. So you'll find us on there.
You'll find us. Just Google us. It's very easy.
And of course, our audience.
Magazine as well, yes.
Our audience can read you on a regular basis at Soul Sentred Magazine. Paul and Juliet, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always, to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for that. I know that there, as I said before, heaps of light bulbs about values, the importance of, and actually what they are. Look forward to deep diving again very soon. And thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
For evolving and relaunching us today.
Thank you.
And if you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you, it's been great to have the dynamic duo with us, Juliet Lever and Paul Eliseo of Evolve and Relaunch. Values. Who knew, right? I bet you're actually thinking right now, I need to go and sit down and do that hierarchy of values because maybe I haven't got what I think I'm supposed to have at the top. You know what? It's not about what you're supposed to have. It's what actually falls. Let the cards fall as they may. And we are really excited to have the dynamic duo of Paul and Juliet back with us again in the future to do a little bit more on that. As I mentioned before, if you want to read a bit more of what they do and also get some other insights, you can go and get the Soul Sentred magazine, which is available right now at Soul Sentred with an S, SoulSentre.com, and check out their articles in our regular issues of Soul Sentred magazine. This is Soul Sentred, the podcast all about health, well-being, longevity, and biohacking now too. I'm Jaynie Morris, your host, and I look forward to having your company next time, wherever you are in this amazing, beautiful world of ours. I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you.